Hi, welcome to Breaking Free Fridays, or welcome back if you've been following the series. I'm Tara, and I'm so glad you're here. Today, I was inspired to talk about when hope feels lost, and what do we do about that? How are we supposed to move forward when things feel so heavy? This is such an important topic because right now, and just in general, there is just so much divisiveness going on and so many tragedies, so much that's really weighing. And, people are feeling more stressed than already how stressed they've been carrying in their lives. People are feeling so overwhelmed. They don't know where to turn, how to move, and it it just feels like too much. And how to find that way to hope, how to see something better, how to embrace that positive notion of what exists and what can exist and what can be better in our own individual lives and for our world, for humanity as a whole. And so one of the things that I wanted to start with as a reminder, because this is an interesting framework. We grow up in this conditioning that has this backdrop of telling us that it's not okay to feel. Well, that doesn't work, and it's just flat out wrong. It's a lie. We are meant to feel. That's part of our internal languaging system. That's connected to our intuition. That's a big part of our compass in life. It's a part of how we are able to discern what we don't want, what we do want in life. And there are so many different feelings. They run an immense spectrum. And one of the things that happens when we go a really long time without allowing ourselves to feel is stuff it pents up, and eventually it's going to explode or create such maladaptation in the way that our bodies function that we start seeing things like disease and other forms of maladaptive coping strategies, whether they show up in a form of something that our world deems a mental health diagnosis, or a physical ailment, an autoimmune disease, or injuries, or just other types of patterns that can show up in our world. And there is a big lie that we're told, and that's that we're not supposed to experience and feel pain. That's a big part of this, right? It's important that we allow ourselves the grace to feel and to let that process through. What we don't want is to get stuck there, to get entangled there, to re-loop over and over and over again a particular tape, if you will, related to something that we've experienced. We don't want to just get stuck in it or mired in it, like where it's ruminating. If you find yourself in a place where that's happening, that is a big hint. It's like a blinking light that's letting you know, oh, there's something stuck in my nervous system, and it's likely connected to some kind of unprocessed wound that goes really far back, oftentimes into young childhood. And it just needs help to be released, to be acknowledged, to allow it to move through. And we've been told to fear our feelings and the sensations in our bodies, and it's created a real dilemma. And it's, quite frankly, it's stunted us in a lot of ways. It's kept us small, and it's kept us in very dysregulated nervous systems. So, one of the things that when we think about hope and trying to get back to a place of hope, the big thing here is the more we can regulate our nervous systems, the more that we have space to feel peace, to feel centered, to slow down, to have like that conscious breath where everything, it's like there's a pause. It's not like you're experiencing life in this state of frenetic energy that feels like absolute chaos. And the biggest thing with this is really having regular practices and support and resources, but regular practices that really work for you, because there's lots of different tools, and it's important to find the ones that work for you the best and that you'll incorporate and use in your day-to-day life, because this is one of those things that becomes part of a lifestyle. It becomes part of the way that you live, the way that you journey through life, so that you can experience more health and well-being, that you can experience a life that feels better and better all the time, regardless of what's going on around you, regardless of how others are feeling, what is being experienced. And obviously there are still going to be things that we run across, that we experience, that are really intense, that challenge us, that really put us to the test. And the big thing is that the more adept we get in our own inner work, the greater our empowerment, the greater our freedom, the faster we move through those really challenging places, and with greater ease and grace. So it's like the tools become ingrained, our way of relating to life, to the world, to relationships, to what's happening. It takes on a different lens, a different perspective. And you'll notice this, the more inner work that you do. So I just, first and foremost, I really want to honor you for being here, for showing up in this type of community where it's really about that learning and growing, becoming more empowered, looking at our own areas of opportunity for healing and for growth and for breaking free, because that is where the freedom is. That is where the safety lies. When we are living in a world where a lot doesn't feel safe out here, and it's really important to be able to come into our own center, into our own beliefs, into our own core, where we can still feel a sense of safety. And that comes back again to that place within the nervous system. I've shared in other videos, but I want to remind here as well that conscious breathing is a huge place to start. It literally drops our systems into this place of centeredness. And sometimes we can be spun out and it's hard to even catch our breath. But oftentimes, even just placing a hand on your heart to help connect to your body and reminding yourself, in your mind, just breathe, and really taking that deep inhale, a count of 4 to 6, and then holding it for at least 6, a count of 6, and then exhaling through your mouth for a count of 8. And doing that for a few breaths at least, if not, 30 seconds, a minute, something that just helps you recalibrate. You'll notice that you'll feel calmer. Things will just feel more at ease. And the more you do that on a regular basis, the better. But also clearing our systems. And, this is in every area, energetically, it's also mentally, standing guard at the gates of our minds, at the gates of our bodies, our emotions, what we reinforce. Oftentimes we feel like our thoughts and our emotions, that we're just like victim to them. It's like, oh, they just came along, and we don't have dominion over them. It's not true. We do have dominion over them, and they are often just a pattern that we have gotten in the habit of reinforcing over and over and over again, that reflect things that we have been conditioned in our families, in our communities, in our societies, in our cultures, in our world, that have been reinforced. Even just some of the things that we use for our language, our choice of words, things that can make big shifts with little simple things, like, oh, I have to do this. No, I get to do this. I get to feel so much more empowering than I have to, which is like, oh, wait, another weight, right? That's an easy example, but think about, there is so much that's coming in, and it can be by social media, the news, people, sharing their problems over and over. It's normal that we experience problems and challenge in our journey. However, we can move through those almost like, it's a journey and part of the adventure, and, a puzzle to solve. That's one framing of it. Or we can get caught up in the drama of the problems, and it's almost like reinforcing the story of things that actually become more and more disempowering for us. So back to hope. The more we clear, the more that it's easy for us to see that place of hope again. It's easier for us to choose hope. It's easier for us to choose faith, because we can choose faith and moving forward, or we can succumb to fear and fall back or stay stuck. And fear is going to be there. It's our, what are we going to do to move through it so that it doesn't hijack our life, keep us small, keep us disempowered. So going back to the clearing, and also just being that guard. So think about your energy frequency. There's something that you can do that's a very simple thing, where you just go around your body, your aura like this, all the way around. Imagine you're basically just clearing yourself, but it's getting to that initial layer. It's like you're brushing anything off. Do it all as much as you can on your back side, on your front side, down to your feet. I know it's a little bit hard to see with the way that I've got my video going now, but imagine you're just brushing off all the way, just releasing, just freeing yourself from any energetic remnants that are stagnant, that are hanging around. Simple thing, fast to do. Try it. You'll notice a difference. It's amazing. But also, thinking about what's coming into your mind. What are you watching? What are you listening to? It all makes a difference. It all reinforces a direction. And you get to choose, what direction do you want to reinforce? One of the things that can be really powerful in empowering yourself more is really limiting your exposure to the news, to social media. You can set yourself timers. There's different apps actually out there that are available that can help you, track into a way that you deem more healthy, but that can help you monitor that so that you can be really effective and accountable to yourself on your goals there. But here's the thing. Give yourself a little test to see how you feel. And do one of these things where instead of waking up first thing and grabbing your phone and immediately going to social media feeds or to news, instead allow yourself a few minutes, 5 minutes, to just be, to connect to your body, to connect to God, the universe, your higher power, however you define that, and see how that shifts the start of your day. Just that moment of pause before you dive in. But one of the things to really notice is that when you realize that the news, and some of you may have heard this before, but I mean, the media outlets, they are in the business of making money. They are in the business of getting viewers, of getting clicks. That is their primary objective. Their primary objective is not to report objective, completely accurate, 100%, everything fleshed out and verified up the wazoo information. They are to make money for their shareholders. And if we understand that that's where they're coming from, a lot of the languaging, the headlines, they are meant to catch your attention by catching deep emotional reaction, because that's what gets a person to act. That's what gets a person to click. That's what gets a person to read through. So if you're finding yourself feeling more and more heightened, and it's harder for you to regulate and stay centered, cut out the news. The biggest way that we can make a difference in this world, that we can help make things better for our world, for our families, for ourselves, is focusing here, focusing inside our own inner world. We do that inner work. We master this. We master our own thoughts, our own emotions, our own physicality, our energetics, our spiritual connection and vibrance in life. We show up in a totally different way. It is a game changer. It creates freedom. It allows us to create new possibilities and to create a better life for ourselves, for our children, for our families, for our communities, for our world. That's where that hope lies. But let's also talk about some other simple things, right? We talked about the mind. Meditation always is great. The breathing, that helps on so many levels. But also, when you think about the emotions, befriend your emotions, even the hard ones. I can't tell you how many times in my own journey that the real gold, the real treasure that exists is by facing the shadow, going through, actually getting to the light. So often the gym rests in facing those hard things, feeling those hard things. Obviously we want to do it in a healthy way, but befriend them. Allow yourself that grace, and know that sometimes, even in our own dynamics, our relationship dynamics with our loved ones, sometimes because we have not really become comfortable with feeling, it can be triggering to allow our loved ones to feel. So watch that dynamic in play. Allow yourself grace. Allow your loved ones grace. And remember, each of us is responsible for our own emotions. Our emotions, that is coming from within. It's the meaning that we give to experiences. That is the way that we can tell, like, where our thought patterns, our beliefs are sitting. if we have a reaction and we're experiencing a really intense emotion, that's a call for us to go inward. Whatever is outside of us that's representing what we think is, oh, that made me feel that way. It didn't really. It's something within us to look at, to become aware of, to release, to heal. I mean, it could be different things depending on what the experience is, but it's basically a gift. It's a gift to show you where you can go within to become more free. And gosh, becoming more free, isn't that what it's about? I mean, that's where the most immense amount of hope comes from, because we do have a better world that is absolutely possible, and it starts with each of us. So another area of clearing, cleansing our bodies. We are exposed to so many toxins just in our world, the air we breathe, even the water, some of the foods, if people aren't careful, even being careful, you're still getting exposed to things like, chemicals and different things like that. There are just different toxins that we're exposed to, and our bodies need help getting that out. If we don't help the body do that, then stuff just maladapts over time, trying to work its way around dealing with built up toxins in it. So, that's another piece. And then really watching what we're feeding ourselves, how we're fueling ourselves in every way, not only like physical nourishment, but, emotional nourishment, how we're doing things from a self-care standpoint and nurturing standpoint. I don't know about you, but I mean, this is beautiful. The mountains in the background, this lake, for me, I love it. I love nature. I love animals, the magic that's all around in that brings me hope. Realizing a bigger perspective, connecting with God always, that can recenter me, remind me, and I just want to let you know that sometimes when we aren't feeling hopeful, it just means we need to give ourselves some grace to allow that sadness to move through. The sadness to move through, despair to move through, disappointment to move through, anger to move through. And when we give ourselves the grace to feel, that allows the hope to live more strongly. And focusing on things that we're grateful for, the magic, things in our own life that we can draw on, that show proof of beautiful things that we can be grateful for. Reinforce that. Feel it again and again. Wire yourself in that direction. Keep moving in that direction instead of cycling over and over around the things that bring you to a place of feeling that hope is out of reach. Anyway, I hope you found this helpful. I'd love to hear your thoughts. What also works for you in keeping yourself in a state of hope. And please share with your loved ones. Send a like, subscribe. And until next week, I will see you soon, but I hope you have a wonderful week. And here's to your next level of breaking free and your next level of empowerment. Bye for now.